What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I put this out on Instagram yesterday afternoon. If you're not following me on Instagram, I use it as an email platform. I get back to every single DM. Get there, man. Get there. If you want to link up, you know, that's a good spot to find me, at least for the moment. I asked yesterday who in the audience is using cryptocurrency inside of their business or life to purchase any goods or services, like actually buying goods and services in the real economy utilizing cryptocurrency. And I'm getting back feedback. I'm trying to target in on a demographic. I've got a few assets at this point in time for sale, shuffling around my own personal balance sheet. I've got this idea of creating a company that only transacts in cryptocurrency, and I just can't shake it. It just won't leave me. And so, because it's bothering me so much, I might have to scratch the itch just to not have this psychologically draining on me. I still think it's very, very early in terms of utilizing this. Now, like, I remember very well the summer of 2011 and like having roommates that literally were trading it back and forth for bar tabs, electrical bills. You know, it was being used quite often, actually. In 2011, 2012, 13, people are using it quite often. 14, 15, 16, kind of was quiet, in my opinion. I didn't really interact with anyone that was dealing with crypto too much. 17 obviously had its big run up, you know, ran up to like 17, 18K on Bitcoin. And then after that point, crashed pretty abruptly, bear market, and the smart people started to stack. And so, at this point in time, it seems to be, in the crypto space, seems to be very risk on. Like when people are getting stimmy checks, crypto's where they go. People are trying to make a quick buck, meaning a buck, like $1. They're like, oh, I'll buy some crypto and sell it for dollars. And it's like, why would you do that? Like there's 21 million Bitcoins, there's an infinite amount of dollars, and they're printing literally 1 trillion of them a month. Like they're loaning 1 trillion of them a month into existence. They can't stop, like, because if they did stop, the entire system would literally collapse and you guys would be back in like the 1800s really soon. Or there's this lifeboat, like there's this there's this crossing the Rubicon into a new economy, and we need a new base level for that. In my opinion, that's cryptocurrency. They can't allow the fiat system to just die, implode. They refused to do that in the 80s. They refused to do that in 2000. They refused to do that in 2008. They refused to do that in 2020. In fact, they probably created 2020 when the repo market on September 19th of 2019 dried up. I had a video on that where I'm like, hey guys, this is a pretty big deal, you know? Like Robert Kiyosaki was talking about it. I studied finance in undergrad, so I was familiar with the repo market, but obviously I don't play in the repo market. It's for very large companies where they're loaning money overnight. And essentially what happened was the overnight rate went to like 10% to loan funds. If you're like, you know, a large company like Target or Walmart and you're short, you know, you need 20 million bucks real quick. You don't necessarily go to your bank or your credit line to go get that. What you do is you take your treasury bills that are on your balance sheet and you just loan them with the Federal Reserve, and they just, you know, throw 20 million in your account real quick, or $1 billion or whatever you need. They make sure that you got it, and you know, everything's cool. Well, the repurchase market dried up. Like there was, and normally what happens is like the Fed doesn't do the loaning there. It's normally like Walmart has a surplus and Target needs to borrow, and so Walmart can create a little yield and Target can get a cheap rate. Like, and that's literally what happens. Home Depot is loaning, you know, to Ross department stores or something like that. So it just dried up. Everyone was like, yo, we don't have the cash to loan. And like, so what happened is these large companies, like they ran out of money, and we don't know who ran out of money. We just know that the Federal Reserve showed up, and for the first time in history, literally was like $1 trillion in the computer, and they saved, you know, quote, saved the system. And then, you know, 3 months later, you've got this pandemic going on, and we got to shut down the economy and, you know, recapitalize everyone. And it was just very freaking convenient. And I still don't know anyone that died, which is unfortunate. I mean, if we're going to have a pandemic and you're going to spend $10 trillion and you're going to have inflation up the wazoo and you're going to have people that have psychological issues for the rest of their lives, probably will have their lives cut short because of playing with experimental drugs and medical procedures, or getting addicted to other drugs, or being in isolation, or like all the psychological effects, increasing alcohol consumption, all the things that happened with the pandemic thing and the scamdemic, like, needed to happen to keep the Federal Reserve System afloat. It was super freaking convenient. But what is the alternative here? Like, do the millennials just get pinched by the baby boomers, as the baby boomers for their entire lifetime refuse to stop consuming? Like, they literally overconsumed, and the best time, I mean, they had the best, I mean, you're a baby boomer, you're coming about in like 1950, and now it's 2022. I mean, the best period of human history, like as far as violence goes, as far as lifespan goes, as far as travel and freedom, individual liberty. I mean, best time in human history, yet still, they had to borrow to consume even more, because 2 cars and a house wasn't enough. 2 cars, a house, a lake house, and a boat wasn't enough. Like, they just had to keep on borrowing. And those that didn't save, that just consumed everything they had, are now finding themselves at 70 years of age with no assets, or limited amount of assets. And, you know, the question is, will the Federal Reserve allow that asset bubble to pop and basically stop stealing from the millennial and Gen Z generation? Like, will we be allowed to buy asset prices, or, you know, homes and think, you know, the S&P 500, for example, at not all-time highs? Then people will be like, well, we're in a recession right now, Trav. Like, yeah, like, we're not technically in a bear market as of yet. This is June 8th. To 2022. Everyone says that there might be this recession coming. It feels like it's already a recession. But, like, you know, will they just continue to print, basically? And so what's the Rubicon? Like, what's the alternative here? A transition to crypto assets. They're going to print fiat worthless, and it's going to be worthless about the time the baby boomers were all dying. So what's going to fill its spot? And there's a refusal by the U.S. elites to call a Bretton Woods 2.0 and just say, hey, look, we have a trade imbalance problem. And instead of going into wars to solve these problems, let's sit down and be like, you know what the problem is? The U.S. can print money, we can print inflation, and we can inflate away, we can export away our inflation to the world as they need dollars for trade, and we can consume stuff at the expense of hollowing out our middle class, our manufacturing sector, etc. And now that we're in this part of deglobalization, where we're seeing that nations are trading with each other less, and they're becoming protectionist. They're becoming protectionist over food supply, which is going to be really interesting. Over energy, they're sanctioning a G7 nation, which has never been done before. The U.S. government took Russia's Federal Reserve dollars, like their U.S. treasuries, and they froze them. And the French government took and stole yachts of Russian citizens who hadn't been tried in a court of law for any wrongdoing. They just happened to be Russians. The most racist thing you could have done. And they were like, well, we're stealing all Russian stuff. That's just what we're doing. So China is watching very patiently at this. They're at their peak of power. I think that they have further to go, but they're certainly at a plateau of power. Looks like they have a real estate crisis unfolding on their hands. It looks like they definitely have a demographical issue going. They're locking down cities. They're doing some weird things, I think very strategically, but I think that we're going to see a move on Taiwan sooner than later. A lot of people are like, it'll be this decade. I agree. I think it could be this year. I definitely think it could be within a year. Let's put it that way. If you're China, the time to move on Taiwan is nearing. At which point does the U.S. maintain their promise of protecting Taiwan and our allies? And the U.S. elites seem to think that this is like Top Gun 3.0. Like, they seem to think like Josh Hawley's out there like, yo, man, let's run the F-22, man. And it's like, bro, you know we can't create new Howitzer missiles. Like, you understand the lead time is 36 months for that, right? Like, you understand that we can't like literally produce, like, we're underproducing our own oil consumption right now, bro. Like, you get that this isn't 1954 America where like you can just do whatever the hell you want. And these people, they don't get it, which is why I think you're going to have a collapse of the empire. However, there will be a parallel economy that forms. And I just think that that's in the crypto space. For example, if I have a good or service that you got to have, dude, I'd prefer cryptocurrency. In fact, I'm down to give you like a 20 or 30% discount for cryptocurrency. And I think that that's going to become more popular. Now, I'm comfortable with it. I'm moving around wallets. I moved to cold storage. I know what all that is. I think that there's a lot of training and education still to be done in that space. And I think that it's still speculative. It's a .com thing. It's a get rich quick thing. It's I can borrow 10 times on my crypto and buy more crypto with it. But then if it falls in price, I get liquidated. So there's just big drops. But what's cool about it is like, if I had a company and say you watching, just you and I talking now, or like, Trav, I want to invest in that company. Like, you could see the accounting of that company live time if we were just transacting in crypto. Like how much revenue is coming in, how much revenue is going out, where is that money going? And we could write a software program where it automatically shows the health of the business. Okay, what employees, what percentage of sales commissions are going here? What percentage of this is going to energy? What percentage of this, all of that live time, which is something your QuickBooks program just isn't doing. Your accountant just isn't doing. If the tax laws change, I mean, you could change the algorithm. Like taxes could be done on an algorithm. Also, taxes don't have to be paid at all in crypto if you want to use Monero, let's say. Like, no, screw them, we're using Monero. Well, Trav, you know, if you don't pay taxes, big boys with guns will show up. Yeah, I get that, right? But if you have 30% of the economy transacting that way, are you gonna like really, like you're gonna pound in everyone's door? You know, it gets weird. And if the guy with the diesel fuel is only accepting Monero, and you gotta have diesel fuel to get groceries to the grocery store, you know, you might see a company like Walmart go, hey, we kind of need it. We gotta ban it. Like, you might see smaller grocery stores, chains like Publix down here in Southwest Florida. You know, great company. But if they need diesel fuel or natural gas or whatever, if they gotta have it, gotta have it. And so the guy that has a supply, you know, that might be what he demands. He might demand gold. He might demand silver. There might be a point where he's like, dude, we're not doing dollars, man. We're not doing dollars. We're not doing banking system. If you're in Canada and you still have you're still using the banking system, you are insane. I have sold a lot of Canadian silver in the last 2-3 months. Please hit me up below. I've got a link. You just email me, Trav at OnSiteTrav.com. If you want to buy precious metals, I think that's a huge solution. Also, parallel economy stuff where you can digitally trade your silver. The question though is, you got to have it on account with somebody. It's got to be in a vault somewhere. There's cool projects out there where if you request it and pay shipping, they'll ship it right to you. So you can interact with it digitally, and you can use these apps to even turn it into dollars and then use it at the gas station real quick. Or turn your dollars, you get paid, turn your dollars into silver and just have it stored on your behalf. And then at the point of your choosing, just say, hey, I'd like, you know, some of my silver to show up. I want this much to show up to this address. You just go in your app and send it. That starts to become a parallel economy based on sound money. My passion is sound money. I want a solid spreadsheet of accounts. What is owed? What is the unit of measurement? We're not changing the unit of measurement. So entrepreneurs can take these signals and go, oh, okay, well, based on this data, I should allocate this much capital here. Oh, this is a good investment. Oh, that's a bad investment. If that signaling is always corrupted and always getting jammed, we're not making good decisions as entrepreneurs. For example, if the currency is losing 8% of its purchasing power a year, and that's what they tell us, everything I'm paying, I just literally had a price go up on me at the dirt pit yesterday. I go to pay for the dirt, and they're like, actually, it's now this price. And I'm like, I do the math. I'm like, oh, so it's increased 20%. Yep. Okay, well, my Federal Reserve told me the inflation was 8.2, but obviously to buy fill dirt at the fill pit, it's gone up 20%. Other things like fuel have gone up on me 100%. When you're moving dirt, turns out the cost of dirt and the cost of fuel are like 80% of your expenses. So, you know, anyway, the solution is moving to a parallel system, a system that benefits the poor and the middle class and even the rich. But the system that we have now pretty much only benefits the rich. If you are in a position to loan currency that's devaluing at 8% and earn, say, 3 or 4 or 5% on it somewhere else, you know, you're making this delta of at least 10%. I mean, if you can buy real estate with it and it's going up 10% a year and your currency's going down 8% a year, so you're always able to increase the rent, well, like the renter tenant is getting screwed. And like, you're shorting the dollar essentially, and you're making like 15, 20, 30% a year to do it. And in most cases, you're putting down almost nothing to do it. The rich get richer. And if you had an equity-based system of like, nope, like this house costs a quarter of a Bitcoin, you need to give us the quarter of the Bitcoin to have the house. Or you can loan against the Bitcoin if you want to buy the house. I mean, you could, but do you want to loan against Bitcoin? That's a little risky if it's gonna. I mean, there's been years it's doubled in price. Do you want your debt to double like in payment and doubled in fiat price? So anyway, getting into the weeds here. Don't want to regress. But what I want to know from you is, do you interact or would you be open to? And what would be holding you back? Do you need further education? Do you need to maybe only interact so much in it because you still have to pay bills in fiat? I understand that. Until it's a consistent unit of account, until it's boring, it's hard to use it as a unit of account. You've got to be in a business where you can handle 30, 40% swings on it, because ultimately on a fixed deflationary currency, the game is an accumulation game. It's not a buy and sell and flip and trade game. It's like I'm just going to buy it and hold it game. Anyone who's done that for the last 10 years since 2011 has done really well. Anyone who's had conviction and not been shaken out, and not many people. But anyone who's had real conviction and been like, no, I can stomach this. I see the trend. I know where this is going. But man, I just think that building a parallel economy on sound money is the solution, since clearly our current elites are willing to go Top Gun in World War III over sitting down and going, hey, you know what, China, it's really not right on us that you send us real stuff and we send you fake dollars. And then you have to keep those fake dollars at the Federal Reserve, because where else are you going to really go with them? And then also, if you invade Taiwan, we'll just take them. Seems like if you're China, you're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take Taiwan. We're going to prepare for them to steal our money. And when they do, we might go to war with them because you stole from us. That's not a good solution. And so in my opinion, the solution has to be this Rubicon. We've got to cross this Rubicon, and that's going from the traditional finance system to the crypto system. Understanding that right now, I think we're in the dot-com bubble. Yep, the internet's going to change the world. 2000, 1999, that's the narrative. I get it. Going to probably crash 80, 90%. I get that. Also, 7 years from now, you'll hear of a company called Facebook. 9 years from now, Snapchat. 9 years from now, I'm talking in 2000, 2001, Instagram, YouTube. These things will come, but they're going to come in 5 years from now. I think crypto's like that right now, although I do think Bitcoin is base layer one of the entire thing. I think things like Ethereum, and I could be wrong in this, Ethereum is just not the solution. Not in its current form. It's just not the solution. It's just too damn expensive to use. It's not the solution. But I think that something else will. Pets.com wasn't the solution. Chewy.com was. There's going to be these things that are going to occur. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Please share this video with someone that may find it interesting. I want to start this conversation. I'm down in the comments below for that conversation. And in the next few videos, I'll be announcing I'm going to be doing kind of like a networking type of opportunity for a lot of you guys. So I want to build this community. I want to get these ideas. I want to see how, as younger people, millennials, Gen X Gen X is kind of fake and gay, just gonna say. Gen Z, you guys are, raised by Gen X, so, but nonetheless, I think the solution's coming from the millennials, Gen Z, and below that. I really do. We got to find solutions here. World War III is not the solution. A crisis to crisis to crisis deal, so that they can always print and print and print because, monkeypox, you know what I mean? Gotta send more money. War in Ukraine, gotta send money. We gotta always be printing because a debt-based fiat currency can't not be printed. It must be printed more and more and more until it collapses. And then when it does, it's just bad times for everybody. So please share the video with someone who might get value out of it. And until next time, I'll see you below. Peace.